Well, the COVID aid bill was generally good. There were a couple of negative turns through the course of it being negotiated and eventually passed. And perhaps the worst was the stripping out of the raise to the minimum wage to $15 an hour. So what path forward does it have? Well, it looks pretty dark from the outside. But one representative, Pramila Jayapal, chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, she says that she still has faith that Biden is still gonna work on it, as she'll make clear.
The president called me today to thank me for the work on the bill, and we talked about a $15 minimum wage, and he again recommitted to me how committed he is to getting this done and to getting it done quickly and to, getting a $15 minimum wage passed. And I believe him, Dean. We are going to have some disappointments on bills that aren't going to pass the Senate, and then I think that is going to give us the opening to reform the filibuster.
I like Pramila Jayapal. I think that she's good, but I think her faith here might well be misplaced. That I'm sure Joe Biden would like it or whatever, but I don't know, Cenk. I have a feeling you probably are not as confident following her phone call with the president.
No, not at all. So, because of the sorry state of American media, politicians assume that people in media are supposed to be supporters of the different camps, that they're not actually doing journalism, that they're just supposed to pick allies and back those allies no matter what. So I think that's why some progressives get even more upset at us, because they think, well, you're supposed to just blindly follow us. You're not supposed to challenge us too. No, that was never part of the deal. We believe in fighting for change. We believed you were going to fight for change, and in a lot of ways you have, and we support that 100%. But when you don't, that's our job to call it out. Now, does that mean they're bad people? Not at all. Pramila Jayapal is a lovely person. She really is. She has great intent. She means well, and she actually wants to get those bills passed. Okay, she does. But Joe Biden reassuring you means absolutely nothing. It's actually potentially counterproductive. So let me explain why. When she says, I believe him, and leaves it at that, well, what you've lost is an opportunity to make a specific demand. So that's the way power works. Manchin didn't have a call with Biden and say, like, pretty please, but I leave it up to you. And Biden said, oh, I'll do what you want. And he said, I believe him, and moved on. No, Manchin said, no, I'm not gonna pass the bill. I'm gonna vote no. I'm not gonna let one of your nominees through. I'm gonna vote no. And so they did not have a polite conversation. And guess who won and who lost in the COVID relief bill? Manchin won on almost every concession he demanded. We demanded no concessions and won on no concessions. But we got a lot of calls from Biden. And so I believe him is really bad news. So you're wrong to believe him. You're factually wrong. Now, we already proved this. We said on this show before the bill, well before, months before, weeks before, days before, we were right at every step. We said Joe Biden and Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi said, oh, we wanna pass the $15 minimum wage. We said, we don't believe them. They're not telling the truth. It's the first thing that they're gonna kick out of the bill. Who was right and who was wrong? It's not to brag, it's so that you get it right going forward. Now, when I say that, if there's any progressive legislators watching now, they'll be furious. How dare you tell me I got it wrong? Yeah, I dare, because I'm just as valid as you are. When you get to Washington, don't buy into the hype that you're a special elite person that is above criticism. If you do, that's not on me, that's on you, okay? So Representative Jayapal, you constantly believing Democratic leadership, and then them showing the exact opposite, that they were not to be believed, that they did not want it in the bill, and it was in fact the first thing they took out of the bill. Well, then you've been honestly counterproductive. And if your strategy next time around is to do the same exact thing and say, well, it's okay, I got access. I talked to Joe Biden, and he said, yeah, sure, trust me, just like last time. Well, then that's an incorrect strategy. Your intent is wonderful, I don't question that at all. But your strategy so far has definitely not worked. And again, my guess is if she or anyone in her staff ever sees this, they'll never talk to us again. Never, okay? How dare you say my strategy was wrong? Look, I'm sorry, but you're not a king, you're not a queen, and I don't give a damn that you're a congresswoman. People in power always are like, oh, you have to call me congressman. You don't call me by my first call me senator. I'm a very important person. No, you're not. You're just a citizen like all the rest of us, and we're asking you to do your job. Your job is to be a representative of us. It's not the other way around.
I mean, I agree with you that it was a sort of a moment of where she could have said the opposite, like, and we're gonna hold his feet to the fire on that promise. But instead it was a I believe him, which was like, that was kind of a throwaway of your power. Because I would actually say that Biden speaking to the head of the Congressional Progressive Caucus is pretty important. Like, that's not nothing, So I think that with that access and with that power, I think that shows that Biden is willing to listen, but you don't turn that around by then saying, and then we believe him, even though they clearly didn't even overrule the stupid parliamentarian to put this in the bill in the first place, and probably padded the ultimate Bernie Sanders addition to the bill in the form of the amendment and made it look like 8 Democratic senators oppose it, even though they totally don't oppose it. They're just trying to run cover for Biden. So, I get what you're saying, Cenk, and I think obviously we need to hold Pramila and other progressive Congress people accountable. But it is something that, like, she clearly has the ear. Just don't say the "and I believe him" period point. I'm curious as how the rest of the interview went.
Yeah, I would say I agree with basically everything you've said about the component having to do with Biden specifically, but I think there's a ton that's missing. That doesn't even, like, even if we assume that Biden's totally being honest and he totally is gonna prioritize it, that's not the only thing that matters. So if you're prioritizing it, does that mean you're gonna like ask for it to be done? Or does that mean you are going to put serious pressure on the specific senators to say they're not gonna support it no matter what? Like, what, you want it, so now Joe Manchin's gonna be cool with it? Or are you going to make Joe Manchin cool with it?
Right.
And even beyond that, let's say that hypothetically we get Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema and some of the others to support this that they say they won't support. That still wouldn't be enough to get it passed now that we've missed the opportunity to pass it via reconciliation. So has your position on getting rid of the filibuster or massively changing it changed? And will you put pressure on people like Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin to do that as well? Because if you won't do those things, at the end of the day, at that point, I don't even care how much you genuinely support any particular piece of legislation. None of them will get passed until the more fundamental changes are done. And so I would want way more from her about what he said about those things.
Yeah, so John, you nailed it. So what I was gonna say in going further is, having a conversation with Joe Biden, hey, are you in favor of it? Yeah, oh, you are, oh, me too, yeah, great, is useless, totally, utterly useless. Like I said, it might be even counterproductive. What you use that opportunity for is, yes, Mr. President, but it's really important that you tell me what your plan is. What is your plan for passing it? Well, we'll do blah, blah, blah. No, Mr. President, I have a constituency and I'm the head of the Progressive Caucus. I need to know whether you actually have a plan. If you don't have a plan, we're gonna have to come up with a plan. And then if it doesn't agree with what you agree with, that's, hey, we'll have to sort that out in public, okay? But we're gonna pass this goddamn thing, whether it's our plan or your plan. But you have to show me an actual plan to pass it. Loose talk of, eventual reform of filibuster right before we lose power is not a plan. It's not a plan. It's not a plan. What John just explained to you, honestly, is more than almost any legislator in Congress. Again, they'll be heartbroken. How dare you? We're above you. You're below us, and you can't question us. Really? Then what is your plan? Tell me your genius plan. And the reason I say that, guys, is because they don't have one. I'm positive they don't have one. And look at what she said there. Eventually, because of the other bills that have to pass, we'll do some filibuster reform. That ain't a plan. That ain't a plan at all. A plan is, here's how we're gonna flip those 8 Democratic senators. Here's what we're gonna do specifically on this piece of legislation. We're gonna attach it to another must-pass bill that the Republicans are all going to vote against, and we're gonna insist on it, and we're gonna insist on it 6 months in advance. So you don't at the last second do the same trick you do every single time, including COVID relief. You blocking it would delay the passage of this important bill, and then progressives would be responsible for the delay, and it would be your fault. No, I'm telling you right now, 6 months in advance, we're gonna block that bill, and we're gonna put minimum wage, and it's gonna be in the bill. and we're not gonna have a conversation about it. Okay, now what are you gonna do? That's a plan. It is specific to a piece of legislation that actually has a chance of passing, and it uses your power. Tea and crumpets at the White House is irrelevant. Totally, utterly irrelevant. That when I hear that piece of, look, I get it. Jayapal is not telling you every part of the conversation that she had with Biden. And I know some of you probably, and I love you for being this wonderfully naive because it means you're a good person, you have a good heart, etc. Think like, oh no, they're really smart, legislators, and they're wow, they're in power, they must be really great. They probably did come up with a plan, they just don't want to share it with you. Guys, I've talked to these legislators, I've talked to their staff for decades now. And in this particular situation, just recently, with many of them, there is no plan. They're not secret geniuses. They're uncomfortable making a demand. And we've known forever and ever, power never concedes without a demand. But it would be rude, it would be rude. I would feel personally uncomfortable. Well, now we're gonna make you uncomfortable. And you could hate me for the rest of the time, I don't care. The only thing I care about is pass the goddamn bill. If you don't pass the bill in these 2 years, it will be a remarkable record of failure. That's the reality. There's you can shoot the messenger all you want. It doesn't matter. If they finish the 2 years and they haven't done the bare minimum of passing $15 minimum wage, it's gonna be, history will write it down as a giant failure of not just the Biden administration because they didn't actually want it. It will be a giant failure of progressives in Congress. And here, I'll tell you one other thing ahead of time. Guys, you think we're born yesterday? Maybe the legislators are, I don't know, but we're not. They're gonna say, oh, the minimum wage, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. $11. Hear me now, quote me later. They're not gonna do $15. They're gonna do $11. We already know it. Manchin already said it. Manchin is president. Joe Biden agrees with Manchin on everything. He just uses him as a foil. When Manchin says $11, that's Biden saying $11. So if I'm in the meeting with a Biden and he says, oh yeah, generally, vaguely, we'll do it later. I say, wait, 11 or 15? Because if you go a penny under 15, I'm gonna come for you, okay? And we're gonna vote no on all your goddamn bills. But progressives would never do that. It's so rude and not nice. Well, we need a leader that's willing to fight for us. But on this issue, it's literally called fight for 15. It's not called plead for 15, have pleasant conversations for 15, beseech the parliamentarian for 15. It's called fight for 15. So we'd love to see that fight. Still to this day, the honest reality is no fight at all from progressives. And I'm not putting it all on the House, by the way. The Senate, including Bernie Sanders too. He keeps saying, oh, we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it. Really? Intent doesn't solve it. It has to be intent with execution. What is your strategy? What is your plan? I've never seen one and it doesn't exist.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.